Hello, my name is Grace Session, and today I'm going to be asking you a few questions. First, what subject do you hate the most?
English. Math.
English.
Most of you said math. Some of you said English. Maybe you don't like your foreign language class or your science class. But one subject that every student dreads taking is sex ed. Me, on the other hand, I've always loved sexual education. So much that I even researched it in my own time. So much that I want to become a sex therapist when I'm older. Now, today, I'm going to be covering a few subtopics of sexual education with you all. First on our list, I will go into the definition of sexual education. Then, I will talk about the history of sexual education. Finally, I will close the speech with an expert's opinion on sexual education. Now, if you look up sexual education on Google, you will find this quote by Planned Parenthood that says, "Sex education is a high-quality teaching and learning about a broad variety of topics relating to sex and sexuality." Now, if you look up what are the two types of sexual education, you're gonna get the two types of sex education programs have evolved in response to this challenge: abstinence-only sex education and abstinence plus, sometimes called comprehensive sex education. Now, if you pick up a dictionary and try to look up sexual education or even sex ed, you're not gonna get anything. Trust me, I tried. However, you look up sexual and education, you get sexual, of, relating to, or for sex, occurring between or involving the sexes, having sexual organs, or reproducing by processes involving both sexes. And education, the act or process of imparting or acquiring general knowledge, developing the powers of reasoning and judgment, and generally of preparing oneself or others' intellectuality for mature life. So there isn't an official definition of sexual education, but just for this speech, I'm going to use the definition, the teaching of a broad variety of topics relating to sex. Now that we have the definition of sex ed, let's go into the history of it. According to Priscilla Pardini, the earliest stated of sexual education was in 1912, when the National Education Association asked for teacher training programs in sex ed. It is assumed that these programs were not followed through, since in 1940, the U.S. Public Health Service strongly insisted on sexual education in the schools. They said it was an urgent need from 1953 to 1955, the American School Health Association put in motion the Family Life Education Program and published pamphlets that got referred to as the Sex Education Series for schools to teach their students. In the late 1960s, an organized opposition formed attacks aiming to ban any form of sex ed in schools. A group called the Christian Crusade defined the programs as smut or raw sex. Another group even tried to label the teaching a filthy communist plot. Phyllis Scaffi argued that sex ed would result in an increase in sexual activity among teens. But that was the 1900s. 1800s. Who cares about the past? What's going on now? In the United States, parents and educators are divided when it comes to the education systems in general, as sensitive subjects such as sex or sexuality and things get worse. I have the first-hand account of a parent and educator. Dr. Richard Sharp is a professor at Southwestern University and a father of a 15-year-old boy. Dr. Sharp believes when it comes to this delicate subject, there needs to be more parent involvement. Kids go home with questions they were too nervous to ask in class and want to ask their parents. However, they're too afraid of how awkward it would be to ask their parents, "Mom, Dad, what's a penis?" On the other hand, he also says teachers should create a space where students feel comfortable enough to ask these questions, where they don't feel like they'll get bullied or harassed because they asked a simple question that most people should know. I know that most of the students in this room probably have already had the sex talk, whether it be in school or with their parents. However, some of these kids, teens, might plan on becoming parents in the future, and you will need to be the ones giving the sex talk. So today, I have told you the definition, history, and an expert's opinion on sexual education. So I hope you use the information I have provided well and make your own expert opinion. Thank you for your time.